Did you just get an offer that requires you to move to the San Francisco Bay Area? Or you're already in the Bay Area, you are exploring where to live next? Hey, my name is Derek. I am a product manager in tech and I lived in the Bay Area for 13 years. I went to college there and I purchased my first home in the South Bay. When I first moved to the Bay Area, I was so confused, just like many other people. Luckily, over the years, I developed a simple but not simplistic mental model to help me make sense of this metropolitan area. And today I want to share that with you. And by the end of this video, you will have my mental model to help you make sense of this region better than 90% of the people out there. But before I share that mental model with you, I would love to tell you why I love this place so much. Consider this is my love letter to the San Francisco Bay. I consider this is the best place to live pre-pandemic. Now, of course, my opinion changed a little bit after pandemic, but it is so great because of three reasons. First, the Mediterranean Sea climate. It's such amazing climate. And it's sunny and mild all year round, and there are just not many places in a row. I like that. By the way, there are only two places in the northern hemispheres that has this kind of climate. The other one, of course, is the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, and the second reason why I love Bay Area is that it is the epic center of the technology and innovation of our time. And you need to understand that this is the largest tech job market in the world, easily larger than the sum of Seattle and New York combined. Okay, the third reason I love the San Francisco Bay Area is because the nature is so beautiful, but at the same time so accessible. Now, if you think about it, there are just a few hours drive away from many great national parks if you live in the Bay Area. And by the way, not every state in the US has a national park. It's a really high bar if you have a national park, by the way. And for example, guess what? New York has 0. So let's start with my mental map. San Francisco Bay Area has 9 counties, but you can roughly map it to 5 regions. First, San Francisco proper. Second, South Bay. Third, Peninsula. Fourth, East Bay. And last but not least, the North Bay. Now, they all have their own unique vibe and characteristics, if you will. So the easiest way, I think, to make sense of them is to take a look at the historical perspective. So from historical perspective, they all play different specializations in the economy. So I'm going to give them some shorthands, if you will. First, San Francisco, the shorthand I give it is business. Think Wells Fargo. And South Bay, the shorthand I give it is tech. Think the FANG companies, all the high-tech stuff, semiconductors. Peninsula, the shorthand I give it is in the middle. Basically, it is a long strip of cities, small cities, that a transition zone between San Francisco and the South Bay. And then fourth, East Bay, the shorthand I give it is industry. Think GM or Tesla, manufacturer and shipyards. Finally, North Bay, this is kind of cute. The shorthand I give it is agriculture because this is associated with a lot of, think Napa wine, the wineries, and dairy from marine counties. So we're going to talk about them in detail. San Francisco. San Francisco has always been the city center of the whole Bay Area, kind of like Manhattan in New York. It is characterized by urban life and diversity. So it was the financial hub of the West Coast, but now I think it gradually evolved to be a hub of finance, startup, and tech, and venture capitalists. It is the most vibrant region of the whole Bay Area. If you're young, you cannot go wrong if you choose to live in San Francisco. I personally had a lot of great memory when I lived there. So one memory I remember, it was a New Year Eve. My buddies and I were trying to go out to Embarcadero, basically the ferry buildings in the north part of the city. And we're trying to, with tens of thousands of people out there, watch the fireworks and the New Year countdown. And I remember so vividly because of two things. One, the fireworks were so beautiful. And the second thing that I remember is that after that we took BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, basically the subway system, and I remember it so vividly because BART usually don't operate after midnight, and they had an exception during the New Year Eve and during holidays like that. So I remember that, and and we didn't have car at that time, and so going on BART and see so many people are kind of like squeezed in the train is kind of interesting things to remember. And there are many things that you can do in the city, and the food scene is kind of amazing. So if you like parks and spending time doing cycling, running, I recommend it. The two parks, one is the Golden Gate Park, the other one is Dolores Park in Mission. Both parks are amazing. I specifically want to talk about Golden Gate Park a little bit. It is actually a very, very huge city park, and many people actually don't know, but it's actually larger than the Central Park in New York by area. You can look it up. So you can cycle there, you can run there. It's just like such a beautiful park. And one thing I would say is that check out, if you have time, check out the California Academy of Science. They have a beautiful planetarium in the building, in that academy. And you can watch beautiful, night skies and Milky Way galaxies and stars in that planetarium. It's such a amazing experience. And then don't forget to get food in Chinatown and Japantown, and also Little Italy. They have a lot of great authentic food over there. If you're also into live performance, check out San Francisco Symphony and Broadway shows in SF. Finally, if you're into art, I have a hot take for you. First, I think you should visit Legion of Honor instead of Dion, because I just think the art in Dion doesn't make any sense to me. Today, still, after so many years, I really don't get the art in Dion. But Legion of Honor has a lot of great collections of European paintings, sculptures, and the view over there is just beautiful, and the architecture of the building is stunning as well. So, who would like to live in San Francisco? Now, if you're in your 20s and 30s, I don't think you can go wrong living in San Francisco if you also enjoy city life. However, if you need to commute to the South Bay, then you need to make a trade-off, because the traffic on 101 is no joke, and the commute can be very torturing routine if you decide to live in San Francisco. Still, I know people who live in the city and commute to the South Bay for work, but I personally wouldn't recommend it, and it's a trade-off that you have to make if you weigh the benefit of both. South Bay. South Bay is a huge region with many, many big tech companies. I purchased my first home in this area and lived the longest in this part of the Bay Area because of my work. A lot of people in this area that you will meet are probably tech employees or somehow associated with tech in one way or the other. You will see a lot of engineers, product managers, program manager living in this area. And one year, I remember so vividly that I was voting for the mayor of my city, and I realized there were two candidates running for that office. One person is a software engineer, and the other is a program manager in a software company. How crazy is that? It was so funny because back then, tech bros are not so active in politics like it is today. Today, the new tech bros like Elon and the PayPal mafia, they are very different. But back then, it wasn't like that. So one thing I mentioned is that the biggest city in the South Bay is San Jose. And people jokingly say that it should be called Man Jose because there are just so many men compared to women in that area. And for some, dating can be a challenge. This makes sense since the tech industry is basically male-dominated overall. Now, my hot take here is that I feel a lot of restaurants in this area are super pricey and the food quality is not that good. I'm guessing probably because people's willingness to pay is higher in the South Bay. So, who would like to live in this area? If you get a tech job, and you wanted to close to your office, I think this is a decent and good reason to live there. And because I'm telling you, like the traffic in 101, like I said, is no joke, right? If you don't believe it, listen. So one time I was sitting in my car, I was near the exit of 101 in Mountain View. I was getting stuck in traffic basically, and it's basically there for a while. I was like so frustrated and so desperate, and I was looking around, got like nothing to do. And then I saw the car next to me was basically a person that I recognized. And I looked closely. Yeah, like he is my teammate. And he was also stuck in traffic in his car. And we say hi and just wave our hands. And it's just like, you can imagine like how crazy is it. At that point, all you can do is just literally wait to let the traffic get better. So it's kind of a desperate experience. Living close to where you work, I think is a decent reason, a good reason to live in the South Bay. Peninsula. Peninsula is a long strip of small cities along the San Francisco Bay on the left side, or on the west side, if you will. The small cities usually associated with a small, quaint downtown, usually has a lot of restaurants, and a lot of great restaurants, to be honest. A lot of my favorite restaurants in the Bay Area are actually from Peninsula. Among these, I particularly recommend downtown Mountain View, downtown Palo Alto, downtown San Mateo, and Millbrae. And for example, in downtown Mountain View, my favorite restaurants are Doppio Zero's and other restaurants. For example, Doppio Zero is such a great, authentic Neapolitan Italian pizza. And you can also find squid ink pasta over there. And another one that I also like is Cascal. It is a Spanish seafood restaurant. Usually, sometimes they have live music over there. And Eureka is another one I like. And Happy Lamb Hot Pot. If you're a hot pot person, you probably will like it too. Kakaroto, it's another Japanese restaurant in the downtown Mountain View area, and I really like it because I think it's super affordable and the food quality is pretty decent. In addition, the super rich also resides in this area, specifically Palo Alto, Los Altos, and Alphaton. By the way, Stanford University is also based in here. 101 and El Camino Real, basically the highway and local that kind of connect all those different cities along the peninsula. Now, who would like to live here? I would say if you really want to have a reasonable commute to the South Bay, but also wanted to enjoy the city over the weekend, and I would say Peninsula, it's a pretty decent choice because it is equals distance to almost everywhere in the Bay Area. East Bay. East Bay used to be dominated by heavy industry and manufacture and shipyards, but it has evolved a lot. Though Tesla still has its factory, East Bay is also a huge area, with Oakland being the largest city. Oakland and Berkeley, they're kind of like Brooklyn in New York, if you will, because of the hippie culture. And people who enjoy the quirky and hippie vibe might enjoy this part of the Bay Area. UC Berkeley is based in here as well. In my opinion, I think Berkeley is a lot more pure college town than Palo Alto, where Stanford is. If you have a chance to go to Berkeley and go up to the hill back in the campus, and you will be rewarded by an amazing view. Basically, it's such a fantastic view for you to see the whole Bay Area. It was like magic. It's simply the best view I ever seen in the Bay Area. So who would like to live here? In general, the housing price in the East Bay is more affordable than South Bay or the city. Oakland is also a city that has gone through heavy gentrification. North Bay. North Bay is all about agriculture and tourism in recent decades. The famous Napa Valley is here. Sometimes people need to be reminded that the wine and liquors are actually agricultural products. If you think about it, how do you actually make wine and liquor? It's all from the things that you plant in the soil. So, Napa Valley is probably has the best wine in the New World. By the way, New World is basically the opposite of the Old World, and Old World is basically the fancy way to say the wine from Europe, and New World is everywhere else. One more stupid thing I'm gonna share with you. When I first moved to the Bay Area, I learned about Napa Valley, of course, and I thought that for some reason Napa cabbage is from this area, which later turned out to be totally wrong, but I somehow hold this conception for a few years. Napa in Napa cabbage is actually a Japanese word, believe it or not. It has nothing to do with the Napa Valley in the Bay Area. Who would like to live here? Honestly, this is the part of the Bay Area that I never lived in, and I'm not sure. The reason being that is I actually don't really know anyone who currently live in the North Bay. But if I have to bet, I think you have to be a naturalist in order to live in this area to love it. And that being said, the nature is very beautiful. Okay, to summarize, here's my mental map of the San Francisco Bay Area. San Francisco equals business, think Wells Fargo. South Bay equals tech, think about the FAANG companies, Google, Facebook, whatever that you've been using. Peninsula equals in the middle. It is a long strip of small cities along the San Francisco Bay, connecting the San Francisco proper and the South Bay. East Bay equals industry, think Tesla, shipyards, and perhaps UC Berkeley. North Bay equals agriculture. Think about the good wine from Napa Valley and also the dairy from the Marin County. Of course, there are a lot of caveats with what I just said. For example, San Francisco is probably right now a hub of finance plus startups plus venture capitalists. And East Bay is probably also less industrial than it used to be. But I think you get the idea. There are also a lot more hidden gems in the Bay Area. If you want to learn about tech and learn about living and working in the Bay Area, check out my next video.